Hello everybody, this is Dragonzilla1991 here, and the subject for today/tonight, depending on what time it is when you're watching this video, will be on what is possibly the most bizarre looking creature to ever exist during the Triassic period, and that will be the PNSO Atopodentatus, who has quite the mouthful of a name. I actually got this model back in mid-2021, round about the same time as the Safari Limited Baryonyx. However, I didn't want to do a review on the figure right away, because at the time, I kept on butchering the name unfortunately. Anyway, I thought that I'll wait until I'm able to pronounce the name. But as you can tell, I'm still struggling, so forgive me for the mispronunciation. Now, what was Atopodentatus? Well, it was a species of extinct marine reptile that lived during the mid-Triassic period, between 247 to 240 million years ago, and was native to what would millions of years later become China. This animal was originally discovered in, I believe, 2014. However, the first fossil appeared to have mouths that were zipper-shaped, and as a result, the earliest images of this animal looked like this. But either a year or two later, a more complete skull was uncovered, and it turned out that the first specimen had its skull damaged, which was caused by the geography of the planet, and we now know that the skull of Atopodentatus was flatter in comparison. Model itself, now not counting model kits and the odd miniature, I think that this is the first official figure of Atopodentatus, and I got to say that PNSO have really knocked it out of the park for this obscure reptile. Firstly is the colour scheme, and I absolutely adore it. It's a yellowish tan with a greenish cream for the underbelly, brown wavy patterns, and the head appears to be reddish orange with white stripes. Speaking of which, my favourite part of the animal would be the head, because on one hand it looks like a hadrosaurus, but at the same time it doesn't. We can even see the inside of the mouth as well as the arrangement of teeth. Hard to believe/imagine that this reptile was originally depicted with a zipper-like mouth formation, as mentioned earlier. I also like the pose that he's given, as we can tell that this is an aquatic creature, and they do say that Atopodentatus and other novosaurids were the seals and sea lions of the Triassic, because they primarily lived on the coasts and beaches. The legs do look as if they can hold this animal onto dry land, and the tail is quite wavery, as well as eel-like too. Like the other PNSO models, Atopodentatus has a name, which is Zewail. I may have butchered that one, and it's quite an obscure name indeed, and I'm not too sure whether or not I've heard it somewhere before. Now for size comparisons. Well, this is what Atopodentatus looks like with the collector Atopodentatus, Papoplesiosaurus, Safari Limited Ichthyosaurus that we've covered before, links in the description below, and of course PNSO's miniature interpretation of this animal that can even work as a juvenile. So what are my final thoughts on the PNSO Atopodentatus? This is a truly great figure, and I've been wanting to talk about this model for a very long time since purchasing him. However, because this animal has quite the mouthful of a name, it actually took me a long time to pronounce it, as I mentioned earlier, and also throughout the video, you could tell that every time I've tried to say the name, I'm still struggling to correct it. But I think I've nailed it. If only there were more documentaries set in the Triassic featuring this reptile, then the name would sink in much quicker. Here's an idea: let's cut back on the late Cretaceous period and focus on other prehistoric time zones. Well, that's what I would have said when the new Walker with Dinosaurs was released, but with the announcements for Prehistoric Planet, Ice Age and Surviving Earth, it looks like we're headed in that direction, and maybe, just maybe, Atopodentatus will finally get a chance to shine in the spotlight, and even become a household name, like Tyrannosaurus Rex, Stegosaurus, and the woolly mammoth, etc. and so on. Even though this is currently the main figure that is available, not counting model kits, I would still like other companies to make their own interpretation of this bizarre looking reptile, as long as it's not Schleich. Anyway, this is Dragonzilla1991 signing out. Take care, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time for the 100th review. Yes, we made it. Bye for now.